Before we dive into today's episode, I have a quick question for you. Raise your hand if you've ever thought, once life settles down, then I'll fill in the blanks here. Then I'll start the business, then I'll focus on my health, then I'll finally meditate, then I'll have time to manifest, and then I'll get my life together. Now, keep your hand up if life has ever actually settled down. Exactly. Because if you're waiting for life to become perfectly organized before you start creating the life you want, you might be waiting forever. Today's episode is all about why the messy seasons might actually be the most magical ones. Welcome to the Manifestation and Money Podcast, the show where we tackle the taboo topics of money and manifestation. I'm your host, Jenny Schultz, former 9-to-5 grinder who ditched the status quo and went all in on creating a life I love. Yes, I use manifestation. Yes, I took action. And yes, I created a 7-figure net worth before turning 40. Every week, I'll bring you inspiring stories with money mavens and manifestation masters. From learning how to make more, save more, and grow your wealth to unlocking the power of manifesting your dream life. I am so excited to play in this space with you. Let's jump into creating a life you love. Hey friends, welcome back to the Manifestation and Money Podcast. I am officially in full-blown summer vacation mode over here. There are sticky popsicle sticks everywhere, extra loads of laundry as the kids have been tackling outdoor adventures and crafts. It's noisy, there's sibling rivalry going on, it's messy, but it's also fun. Now that we've had close to 2 weeks off to settle in, it's making me reflect on how some of the biggest breakthroughs in my life didn't happen when I finally had everything figured out. They happened when things felt messy. Those times when I had a pattern interrupt in my day-to-day life, and by default, it realigned my priorities. And it got me to thinking about manifestation and lifestyle design and how we're often striving for something and feel like we have to be perfectly aligned, perfectly positive, perfectly clear, perfectly confident. But what if sometimes we just embrace the messy pockets as a chance to shake things up and let them settle in a new way? If you've been following manifestation, you likely know the rule about not gripping on to how it plays out. And today I want to talk about why embracing the mess might just be the mindset shift that works for you to release your grip on life. As humans, we want to see the finished puzzle, right? We want to know how, we want to know all the steps. And I think most of us honestly kind of want life to come with an instruction manual. We want to know that if we take step A, then step B will happen, then step C will follow that, then bam, we'll get everything that we asked for. But in reality, we don't have an instruction manual for life, do we? As parents, we don't get an instruction manual for our babies and then a separate one for when they become kids. We are all unique, and our uniqueness allows us to shape our lives in the way that we want. And honestly, our lifestyles, they're kind of an ever-evolving experiment. I think we sometimes treat lifestyle design like we're trying to write the perfect blueprint for the rest of our lives. But life is evolving. And what if it was less like building a blueprint and we thought of it more like trying on clothes, if you will? You put something on, maybe it fits, maybe it doesn't. Maybe you love it for a season, maybe you outgrow it. And none of that means you failed. It means you gathered information along the way to be able to course correct into something new that you now want. And I love metaphorically thinking of life like seasons. So when you think of seasons, you can see the chaotic changes, like when a tree sheds all of its leaves. But if you think back to every job you've had, every hobby, every business idea, even every relationship and every project you've worked on, every person has taught you something about yourself in that particular season of your life. And without those experiences, how would you know what you actually wanted moving forward? Sticking to that question, do you still want it? And that is the biggest question that I have been facing over summer break here. As we're settling into our current routine over here, which now consists of way too late bedtimes. And honestly, summer fun just seems to have taken the driver's seat for us. But it's allowing me kind of a bird's eye view of my regular day-to-day schedule that I was sticking to when the kids were in school. And I'm realizing that there are things that I want to tweak a bit to make my post-summer routine a bit different than what I was doing. And honestly, it's a bit too easy to get stuck on autopilot, controlling every detail of our lives. I get it. If you're like me, you like the consistency and the predictability, you like to feel in control, but the universe can't give you feedback if you're standing still. If you're doing the exact same things every single day, you can become stagnant. And if you're not trying different things or different situations or different ways of thinking, you are confining yourself to a limited box. And I think that limited box bottles up so much of your potential. And now maybe you love that repetitive lifestyle, and at the end of the day, you do you, because we all get to choose what works for us. But from my experience, I know there are far too many people saying, yes, I'm going to do the thing when the stars align. And here's where I challenge that, is that sometimes you might actually need to pick up your feet and move to a different position to even see those stars align. Clarity often comes from movement. You can't steer a parked car. Just ask my husband, Chris. He's a driving instructor, and he cringes when students scrape the parked car wheels against the ground. You want motion in your vehicle when you're steering it. Sometimes the universe, or even life if you prefer, needs something to respond to. So one small action might create a new conversation, new ideas, new opportunities, new clarity. I feel like somewhere along the way, we started believing that if something feels messy, that we're doing it wrong or bad. And my current thought on this is that I actually think the opposite is true. Mess and messy can mean that you're growing, you're stretching. Yes, messy can sometimes mean mistakes and cleanup jobs required along the way, but with mistakes come resilience and refining. Think about when you were learning to ride a bike, or even learning to cook, or raising kids. None of those things are neat. They're wonderfully messy. And yet we expect our manifestations to look perfectly organized. So I was asking myself, why is that? I know that the tighter I grip onto an outcome, the more frustrated I become, because I am trying to control every little detail. But when I loosen my grip just enough to become curious again, I start to ask a different kind of questions. So instead of, why isn't this working? I can be asking, what is this trying to teach me? What opportunity am I not seeing yet? What if this detour is actually pointing me somewhere better, to something easier or something more aligned? These questions create space, and space is where creativity lives, and space is where we can breathe and see things differently. Right now in my personal life, these past 2 weeks have felt messy. I was scheduled for a live group session in my manifestation playground, and a accumulation of chaotic events meant that I had to cancel it 15 minutes prior. I did feel bad and offered one-on-one mini sessions to the attendees who had expected to join me live. And as a result, that messy situation made me realize that I am in a different gear during summer break mode, and I need to own it. So therefore, I've actually gone in and canceled the group readings until my kiddos are back in school. We're all going to survive 2 months. And the beautiful thing I noticed while this was all settling is members took it upon themselves to start up their own intriguing conversations. They continued to play in the playground even while I was over in some messy sandbox off to the side. One of my favorite things about manifestation is that sometimes you get exactly what you asked for, and sometimes you get something better. And not because your original dream was wrong, but because as you changed, your dream changed too. And if you'd clung too tightly to your original plan, you might have missed something that fits the person that you've now become. And that's why I think lifestyle design should stay flexible. Give yourself permission to evolve. Give your dreams permission to evolve. That's not inconsistency, that's growth. When I look back at some of my previous goals, both that I achieved and ones that I didn't achieve, a lot of them aren't even what I'm striving for today, but they did get me to the place where I am today. So even those pieces that didn't play out as I had expected, or the bumps and the lessons along the way, they all played into who I am in this present moment. And this current version of me is who is manifesting for the future version of me. And I want her to continue to be curious and shake things up from time to time. And I'm discovering that a good old pattern interrupt can allow things to settle back in a new way. And I'm not suggesting that you go create chaos in your life this week, but take the lesson that I've been feeling these past couple weeks and ask yourself, what am I curious enough to explore? What is something that I've been overthinking? What part of life feels rigid or stagnant? And how can I shake things up a bit to feel more aligned or have more ease or more play? Have that conversation you've been putting off. Record the video that you've been toying with in your mind. Take the class that piques your interest. Apply for that opportunity that you want. Maybe you are going to have to hit pause on some of your usuals if you need to. Give yourself that moment to see if you've actually put yourself into a hamster ball too. We all do in some way. That might be a weird metaphor. And I'm not saying a hamster ball negatively, But hamster ball, I'm referring to more like that boundary or that routine that you've been holding yourself to. Where can you give yourself a little bit of space? And for me, I know I mentioned that I paused my Manifestation Playground live group reading. I've also batch recorded an amazing lineup of podcast guests to release over the summer. And I did all this so I'm not tied to a recording schedule, other than these solo ramblings to you guys direct to your ears, which I get to do when I feel inspired. But my brain is loving the space from not being connected to my calendar. And I don't know if this is good or bad, but I keep getting confused on what day of the week it is. And I'm just accepting that that's the way it is right now. The kids and I are in the process of making a summer goal poster. And one of the things that we put on it is picnic lunches at random parks throughout the city. And I didn't realize how much my body has been craving just sitting outside on grass and tipping back and looking up at the sky. In this summer break mode, I'm finding space to see my lifestyle a little different. And I'm able to tackle projects that always get pushed to the side, as well as mentally tweaking some of my future ways of doing things to feel more aligned to the current version of me. If there's one thing I'd love for you to take away from this episode today, it's this. Manifestation isn't about creating a perfect life. Lifestyle design isn't about following a perfect plan. Both are about creating enough space to discover and enjoy what truly lights you up in life. Sometimes it means making mistakes. Sometimes it means realizing the dream you thought you wanted isn't actually the one that fits anymore. And that's okay. Messy steps teach you something that the perfect plan never could. So give yourself permission to embrace the mess when it comes along your way, because you might just stumble into exactly what you've been looking for. Cheers to creating a life you love. I will see you guys back here next week. Thank you for hanging out with me on the Manifestation and Money podcast. If you're ready to take your manifesting to the next level, come join me inside the Manifestation Playground. It's an intentional space I've created to explore, experiment, and expand your manifestation potential. It's where the magic happens. So head on over to www.manifestationplayground.ca to find out more. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep taking aligned action. Cheers to creating a life you love.